Hi everyone, it's Shannon here for Hero Arts. In today's video, we are going to use the January 2023 My Monthly Hero Kit to create this fun interactive Valentine that has this opening matchbox on the front. We're going to start with a 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 panel of Peony cardstock. I've grabbed the stencil that's included in the kit. I'm going to place it over the panel, use a couple pieces of tape just to kind of hold it in place, and then I'm going to start ink blending. We're going to create a gradation here. I'm going to start with Papaya and just ink blend the upper quarter with this orange. Once I finish with that, I'll move on to a red shade. These colors I picked to match some cardstocks that we're going to use later. My red shade here is Fruit Punch, which is a reactive ink. Once I finish with Fruit Punch, we'll move on to a kind of pinky color. This is Raspberry Jam. We're just going to ink blend that lower, I guess, 3/4 of the way down with that. And then we'll finish here with a combo of inks, starting first with Unicorn. I want to kind of lighten up this pink cardstock so I get more of a truer color of this passion flower ink. I want this to be really that light purple to match the passion flower cardstock. Alright, now that I've finished ink blending that ombre, I'm going to set that aside. Now we're going to move on to die cutting part of our sentiment. I have the Love die here that is included in the kit. I'm going to die cut a scrap of Peony cardstock out with that. And you can see I use the two dies together, so I just have that kind of negative left over. Then I'm going to use these 4 colored cardstocks, Passion Flower, Ultra Pink, Coral, and Papaya, and die cut each one of those letters, the L-O-V-E, out with this die. You can see I can kind of position the die to just get that letter so I don't have to waste as much cardstock. So here are my letters die cut out. I'm going to set those aside. Now we're going to move on to creating kind of our matchbox. I have the cover and the base here. I'm going to die cut both of these out of Dove White cardstock. And then I'm going to move on to actually stamping a sentiment on the cover. So I have the cover here placed in my MISTI, and I'm going to use that negative for the love and kind of center it on the front portion of the cover. And then I'm going to grab Filled With from the stamp set, center it above the love, and then pick it up with my MISTI, and then I'll ink it up with pitch black ink and stamp the front of that cover. I'll ink it up a couple times to make sure it's nice and bold and crisp, and then we'll be ready to move on to kind of putting the cover together. I have my scoreboard and score tool here, and I'm going to start by lining up the score line on the cover with one of the notches in my scoreboard, and then just go over that score line with my score tool to reinforce that score line. Now here for this side, I'm actually going to go a little bit beyond the score line and into the tab here, so I'm going a little bit past, or a little, I guess, adjacent to the score line, and that just allows me to kind of fold this cover up a little bit more easily. That way I'm folding at the score line and not accidentally at the cut line, which adds the detail of the illusion of depth on that side of the box here. Now I'm just going to fold over these tabs, and then we'll have the construction of our cover done. Now I'm going to move on to adhering our love sentiment to the front of this cover. I'm just going to add some liquid adhesive to the backside of the poppy love kind of negative, and then I'll stick that down. After I stick that down, I'll then inlay all of my colored cardstock letters, and I do that real easily just by adding a little bit of liquid glue to the opening in that love, and then I'll just pop in those letters, and when we end up with this really beautiful, colorful sentiment on the front of our matchbox. Now we're going to move on to this heart gem die, and I'm going to die cut 2 out of those same color cardstocks that I used for the love letters. After I die cut those heart gems out, I'm then going to adhere them to the Matchbox box, and I'm going to make it look like it appears that it's inside, so I'm going to avoid sticking it on that left wall of the box. And I am overlapping these gems a little bit here and there just to, again, really kind of create the illusion that this box is filled with these candy gems. Now that I have all my hearts stuck down, I'm going to move on and create a second sentiment. I pulled off the You're a Gem sentiment, and I've got some scrap Dove White cardstock here. I'm just going to stamp it in pitch black ink again onto the white cardstock, and then I'm going to fussy cut this out. This didn't take me very long, but you could also cut this in a strip if you prefer, if you don't want to fussy cut it out. But when you do fussy cut it, you get a little bit tighter of a border, and then you'll see more of the gems when we eventually adhere this on top of them. So there's my fussy cut sentiment out. I'm going to grab that Matchbox box, add some liquid adhesive to the back side of the sentiment, and adhere it over those heart gems. After I stick this sentiment down, we're going to move on to actually creating the interactive mechanism for our Matchbox. I'm going to start with our Matchbox cover here and this 1/4 inch strip that's a little bit longer than the cover. I'm going to flip my cover over and then pop this strip in behind those tabs, at least the tab on the left side, and then trim off the overhang and trim down that corner so it matches the top of the Matchbox cover. Then I'm going to grab my liquid glue and I'm going to adhere this little strip to those tabs. We don't want to adhere it to the Matchbox cover. We just want to adhere it to those tabs on the Matchbox cover. So I added a little bit of liquid glue to the sides and then folded those tabs over that strip. This strip is actually going to work as a stopper for our pull tab. Now I've went ahead and die cut a second Matchbox cover, and now I'm cutting off the tabs, and you can see what we're left with is a perfectly matching back for our Matchbox cover. Now I have a strip here that's 6 1/4 by 5/8, and I'm going to score or fold this strip right in half, which would be 3 1/8. So I'm just going to make my score line here and fold my strip over. This strip is going to be our actual pull tab that will move our Matchbox up and down in the cover. Now I'm going to grab my Matchbox here, again it's the one with the gems, flip it over, and then we're going to take that long strip, that folded strip, and adhere one of the halves to that Matchbox. So I'm just going to add liquid glue. I'm going to stop about a 1/4 inch from the top of the strip because that part's going to stick out beyond the Matchbox. And you can see here it's sticking out just about a 1/4 inch, but I do have the bottom of the Matchbox lined up with the fold of the strip. Now I'm going to feed my Matchbox in through the cover. I'm going to make sure it goes in through those two tabs, those folded tabs, and then make sure the strip goes under the strip at the top of the Matchbox cover, but also making sure that the second half of the strip is free and not actually tucked in. Now we're going to add a little bit of liquid glue to the top of that folded strip and then fold the other half over to match them up, and that is going to be our actual pull tab, but also be the stopper for the Matchbox not going out through the bottom of our Matchbox cover. And you can see here how our pull tab works. It's working beautifully. Now we're just going to kind of clean things up a little bit by grabbing that back, and I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue to the two tabs. You don't want to add it to the box at all. And then I'll grab that Matchbox cover back and then just adhere it right down. And now we have our whole interactive mechanism done and ready to add this Matchbox to our card. So I'll just give it a couple pulls here just again to make sure it is working, and it works great. It's not coming out, it's not poking through the bottom, works perfectly. So now we're going to put this card together, starting with that ink blended panel. I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back side and then just center it on the front of an A2 top folding white card base. Because that panel is a little bit smaller than an A2 card front, we have a nice little white border. Then I'll finish up here by adhering our interactive Matchbox with some foam adhesive. Just cut a long strip here, just place it on the back, and then I will remove the backing and then place it on our card front. Chose to kind of do it at a little bit of an angle because I think that's more fun. And once I stick that down, our card is complete. I'll now hold it to the camera so you can get a good look at all the details of this card. Pull that pull tab right away so you can see how the interactive mechanism works beautifully and reveals that fun surprise of those heart gems on the inside with that second sentiment. And I think overall this has such a really pretty look with that ombre blended background that matches the colored cardstocks, not only in the love sentiment but also on the gems. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If any questions about the products I used, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.